everybody, to our Parrot Stars podcast. My name is Alexis Highland. I'm here today with Avery, who works with me at Parrot Stars.
Hello.
And today we have a very special edition of our podcast. It's going to be Halloween themed.
Yes, very spooky.
Our goal is to try to release this episode right around Halloween. So we just wanted to have kind of a fun episode for people to have a little insight into a mysterious species of parrot and kind of give you some tips and pointers about safety and fun for the Halloween season.
Yeah, I love Halloween. I really do.
Do.
It's one of my favorite holidays. It's just the vibes and the spookiness and the weather. I think it mostly goes down to the weather. Just because it starts to get chilly, sweatshirt weather's the best.
So before we launch into all of our Halloween themed topics we have for today, just kind of want to give you guys some insight to what's been happening at Parrot Stars recently. So Avery and I just participated in the Harmony Fest in downtown Arlington Heights.
Yeah, that was a lot
That
of
was
people.
really fun. That was our first year having a table, and Avery helped me kind of get the momentum going for doing fun activities like this. So, and we love Arlington Heights, and
it was a nice town. Yeah,
they've done a nice job taking care of us. So, yeah, it was really fun. We got to interact with the public, and
there's a lot of people out there. A lot of parrot perspectives.
so many people.
Little Rue and Olive and Nala was out there to join us, which was a new experience for them too.
Yeah,
I think Rue was fine until she got tired.
Yeah, they all got kind
Everybody
of
was
tired
a
there.
little nervous, but that's okay. I mean, we'll fix it next time.
Yeah, but I think my favorite part was hearing how many people have some sort of connection to parrots.
I know.
We talked about it that night, but
it seems like every single person, you don't hear about it until you hear about it. Everybody says, them and their third uncle has some sort of parrot that they've had experience with. So it's cool.
Yeah, and it was fun, how many people recognized our store and our logo. And a lot of people had already been into the store, but I think a lot of people weren't really sure what our store was, and they kept driving by it, and hopefully we gave them a little insight as to what we are and what we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was really fun seeing all the different perspectives and viewpoints on birds, and I think it was a cool opportunity for us to share a little bit of insight about what parrots are and kind of open the door of education a little bit for people who sometimes only have a very basic knowledge of parrots. And then we had some people that just they were rattling off facts. I was like, oh my gosh, you can work at Parrot Stars with all the knowledge you have.
That's true. There's some really passionate people out there.
Yeah.
But that was the weekend of the 28th of September, so about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at the store, it's just kind of been going.
Mm-hmm.
We had a really big school group that came.
That was crazy.
About 30 people in the store. It was a pretty big, Parrot Stars is a pretty big store, especially just a parrot store. But having 30 kids packed in there was a lot. But it was so much fun. And it was a zoology club of a school. And so everybody wanted to be there.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a forced school trip, and so everybody was so involved and asking great questions, and we got a lot of birds out, and I think they learned something. So
yeah,
that was
and
really
I think
cool.
it's been fun, this relationship with this high school specifically, because we had gotten a call from one of the teachers there that does a lot of the work with the animals and the biology department. And he had invited us. So you and I went to the school. I don't know how long ago that was. Maybe almost a year ago now.
Oh, a little less than that,
6
but
months.
yeah.
Anyway, so we went to the school and the kids were amazing. And then the teacher ended up coming to Parrot Stars and bought a green cheek.
This
is his lifelong goal was to have a parrot in his household. So he came in and bought a green cheek from us, and then invited all of his students to come out, and he did a great job showing them around. They were there for a long time.
Yeah, they were, we were
almost
going
2 hours, right?
Yeah, since we tried to be a little more involved because they were actual a zoology club, and a lot of them, wanted to go into some sort of biological field. So we did all the ins and outs, and I think they really enjoyed it. Obviously, the birds are the most important, and the biggest highlight, but that's how it always is.
Yeah, they were really respectful and really nice. But yeah, when you see 30 kids all lined up together, it does make that store fill up.
30 kids on top of 150 birds that want to,
yeah, it was a lot of energy that day.
150 very loud birds in one room.
Yeah.
But we made it work. But
and just one more thing that has happened. I went to an assisted living and a memory care retirement home. So it's kind of like all the different facets of senior living. Sorry, my parrotlets are going off in the background. If you are new to this podcast, we've got 2 Pioneers, 2 parrotlets, and 4 dogs causing commotion in the background. So if you hear these interruptions, just excuse them. So this was my second time going back to this senior living home, and it was really cool. So the coordinator that is trying to plan and do all these events for the seniors, she said that the feedback they got after we went the first time was like phenomenal, and the residents were talking about it for weeks after we went. And it was really sweet because, again, same thing like our experience at the Harmony Fest, like everybody has some degree of connection to parrots.
Right.
So it's just kind of cool to hear how some of them were very involved with parrots. Some of them had only ever seen parakeets in a pet store, but there was some kind of common denominator among all of the residents there. And so when I went back the second time, it was so sweet. First of all, they like all recognized me. They all recognized the birds and were using their names from the last time I was there. But the most special thing was that on the first trip that I went there, I think almost every resident that came into to the talk got to hold either Wink, our little cockatiel, Rascal the scarlet macaw, or the black palm cockatoo. So right at the end of the program, the second time I was there, she's like, we have something very special to show you. And they like showed me this collage that they had made of all of the cutouts of the pictures of each resident holding the bird and engaging with it. And that was like a permanent picture they put in their like common area in the senior living home. So I was like, this is the most special thing. Like, this is why we do this, because it was so impactful. They were so sweet. So we'll probably go back. It's like down the street from us. So it's like super convenient. But I love doing stuff like that. It's a lot of work to kind of pack up all the birds.
Yeah, the bird pack ups.
Be on for 2 hours straight. But it is so worth it. It's so fun.
It really is. I think we forget sometimes for those type of events that even though we see all these birds every single day, like the birds that we take aren't like, not that they're not awesome and amazing birds, but they're not like a little, green cheek or a parrotlet. They have pretty the wow
big
factor. Exactly. Like our palm cockatoo resident, and then Rascal, of course. And then so people get really excited about of all ages. So that's just the coolest part about it.
And I think the birds too are really like settling in nicely to this idea of periodically going out, because when we first started doing it, it was always hard because like with the little kids, it's a lot of movement. It's a lot of different noise levels. In senior living, there's wheelchairs and walkers, and there's all these things that it has taken the resident parrots like a little bit of time to get accustomed to. And now they're like seasoned pros. They come out of their carriers and they're just ready to put on a show. Hickory's waving at everybody and talking up a storm the whole time. Nala's wagging her tail on command. So it's been really, really fun. And I think those are probably our favorite highlights from this kind of past end of summer, early fall.
Yeah. We have an upcoming, real quick, not to dwell on it too long, we'll definitely probably talk about it after it comes. But I just found out about it last night. But a hook, a Captain Hook, like the movie event that we got invited to.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the very few times we do a corporate event where it's not a school or a senior living facility. So this should be really fun. Hook is like one of my all-time favorite. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh my God.
It's one of your all-time favorites? No, I've never seen it. I've seen like I know what it is.
Oh my God. Okay. So I told the guy on the phone that I really mean this, I'm not exaggerating when I say that I've probably seen that movie at minimum 300 times. Like there was a time in my life where I was watching it like once a week or once every 2 weeks. So yes, it used to be like back in the day on TV all the time, and I would just watch it on repeat. But anyway, Hook is one of my absolute favorites.
That's
like
awesome.
On all of my middle school and high school, like whatever about me's where they'd ask you what your favorite movie is, that was always my favorite movie. So yes, this should be really fun. We're still going to keep it educational.
Of course.
I told the gentleman on the phone that this isn't going to just be like a play date with the parrots. The goal will still be to kind of raise a little bit of awareness. But it should be a really cool opportunity. And they try to have it like this is a corporate event that they do every year. And they try to do some sort of natural element to kind of connect people to the animal world.
That's cool.
So
yeah,
I'm really excited. Should be an adventure.
Is it on the theme of spooky Halloween? Are they dressing up?
They are all going to be in costume, he said. he said he's going to email us pictures of like their past themes. But yes, he said 100% they all go out. I was going to text you yesterday and be like, the only requirement is if you participate, you have to be in a pirate costume. But then I was like,
that's okay.
I feel like Avery's going to take me serious if I say this.
Hey, I'll do the pirate. Yeah, we do have a parrot costume at the store, but
that's true.
I'm not going to put that on. No.
But yeah, no, he said they're going to be in full pirate garb. So if you want to participate in the pirate outfit, feel free. But
we'll see. I have a little time to think about it. But
But I guess, yes, that's a kind of a good segue back into Halloween because I think most famously the parrot on the shoulder parrot or pirate costume is very, very popular.
I know.
I think people ask us all the time if we take the parrots around on Halloween as pirates. It's so fitting.
Yeah, I mean,
I have yet to do so. So we're in Chicago, if you didn't know that. So sometimes our Halloweens are like completely incompatible with taking birds outside.
Yeah.
We've had Halloweens that are like 25 degrees and snowing all the way up to like 75 and sunny. So you don't know what you're going to get for weather in Chicago here.
And then the fact of getting all of the birds we want to take out in costume, probably we'll have to work on that, but that's okay. That's okay. But yeah, that's a good transition to spooky Halloween for this fun episode. Like I said, I love Halloween, the decorations, the vibes, all that kind of stuff. However, we really were kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel for parrot Halloween content.
Things about parrots.
So you don't really associate parrots with spooky because they're obviously their colors, but just their personalities and tropical. That's the stereotype. So it was a little difficult, but before we dive into the main subject, just for parrots and Halloween related things, we started with like pumpkins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously pumpkins are huge Halloween, but real pumpkins, unpainted. Your bird can dive right on in there.
Yeah.
If you do have pumpkins and you don't want to just like throw them in the backyard. So pumpkin is safe for parrots to eat, outside, inside, the seeds, even the stem. I've heard some go for the stem. It's a little spiky, but I don't know. To them, I guess it's fine. But yeah, so don't waste your pumpkins. Just feed them to your birds.
Yeah, it's a really great enrichment idea. I think if you want to do something interactive with your parrot that's very in theme of fall and Halloween, having like, if you're going to do jack-o'-lanterns, like a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times people throw away the seeds and the guts and everything that they're pulling out of the pumpkins. So obviously the most preferred way would be to just dry them and offer them to the parrots raw. You can roast them too and kind of dry out, and then you can eat some of your pumpkin seeds. Your parrot can eat the pumpkin seeds. But yeah, I mean, nothing should go to waste when you have a parrot living in the household if you're chopping up some jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah.
But
it'll be a lot of fun for them, especially if, your parrot's out and about and you have the whole pumpkin there climbing around in there getting it might get a little slimy, but that's okay. That's all right. They'll take a bath. Parrots take baths. But
yes. But it is like we're moving into all of those good winter and fall squashes, which are all parrot safe. So the pumpkin is a good way of kind of introducing your parrot to something new. You can also kind of pumpkins are really, really hard. So if you have a parrot that just is showing no interest in diving into it raw, you can still chop it up a little bit and do a quick steam on it to soften it a little bit if you're introducing it for the very first time. But they have a lot of nutritional value. So yeah, don't let them go to waste.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So that's that. But also, of course, with Halloween comes candy. You just want to make sure. I feel like we have the responsibility of saying something for a parrot podcast. Is just, don't let your bird.
Don't leave the candy out on the kitchen table where your parrot's going to dive into it. Yes, I think that's a very good tip and pointer
honestly,
and reminder.
Personal experience. Not with a parrot. It wasn't even Halloween, but it was Christmas time. But same type of thing. We left Andy's mints on our table at home. We've never had a problem with this before, which is why we did it. You know, we weren't uncautious. And we went out to dinner. We came home and they were all magically gone. Wrappers and everything. I laugh about it now, but she was fine. Our dog just decided to get up there and be festive and eat all of the Andy's mints, wrappers, and everything. But she was fine, but it was very spooky.
Sometimes,
very scary.
Yes, those lessons, you learn them the hard way. So that's what we're trying to do, is help you guys not have to learn the hard way. Be proactive, cover up your candy, don't leave it out. And yes, you brought up some really great things for safety. But the one thing I do want to also mention is that this is a holiday that you might benefit from having your cage or your parrot in its cage throughout the day. The door gets open.
On Halloween?
Yeah, like on actual Halloween.
Definitely.
Parrot safety is going to be something that you really want to keep on the forefront of your mind, just because you're opening the door at such a greater volume than you normally are. We're often like opening the door and holding it open. And there's a lot of commotion. There's a lot of activity. There's people in costumes.
Spooky costumes.
Yes. So put yourself in your parrot's shoes. This is a weird holiday where nothing about the day is going to feel or seem normal for your parrot. So probably a day that we can feel okay having the bird in the safety of its cage or enclosure, and not have to worry about it accidentally getting out the front door or getting spooked or panicked by costumes. So just always keep that in mind, that can be the case with any holiday, because things are so different than they normally are. We're so out of our routine, but particularly holiday or Halloween, because it's such a abnormal.
I know. It is such a weird thing when you think about it. But it's so much fun. You can get your parrot out there with you if it's on a harness. Yeah. And it's cool with that. Obviously, don't force your bird out there, but probably better safe than sorry. Just enjoy the holiday and let your bird, who doesn't know about it or care about it.
They probably have no interest in what we're doing. They probably think we're crazy.
Yeah, it's like
we forget how smart they are and how intuitive and how ridiculous it probably looks when we all go into our costumes.
It's probably like secondhand embarrassment for the bird. But anyways, but that's that.
I love it.
So just some general safety things, but also fun things you can do with your bird.
Yep.
Just be creative. Have fun with it. But on to the main topic, we found probably the most, understandable thing to talk about.
The only spooky thing to talk about on a Parrot podcast for Halloween.
Spoiler alert, it's not really that spooky, but that's okay. So we decided to do a little feature on the Dracula Parrot.
Yes.
So how fitting.
The mysterious and
eerie, spooky, scary, horrific.
That nobody seems to know about.
That's true. That's very true. And that's just kind of the spooky thing.
Yes, mysterious parrot that
I've never seen one.
Yep, yeah. I've never seen one in real life either.
I don't know if they still do. Cincinnati Zoo had a Dracula Parrot.
I think that was what I was seeing online.
I don't know if they still have. I just say that because I was from Ohio. I've been to Cincinnati, but I don't remember seeing it there. But anyways, so it's a very elusive species. Not very many people have them. I don't know if they're allowed.
Yeah, they're in the U.S., but
they're in the U.S.
Yeah, I think only in zoos. I've never seen one in a private collection. Yeah. So, nor heard
Honestly,
of
that's
anybody.
Probably for the better, because
they're super endangered, right?
They are. They're not critical. Thank goodness. They're listed as vulnerable on IUCN. The population's estimate, because we don't know really about anything. If you look at the Wikipedia page on the Dracula Parrot, it's like 2 paragraphs, and the paragraphs are just a couple sentences. So
I kind of felt bad because I was like, "Can you start the research for our Halloween episode?" And you're like, "There's no research."
Yeah, we were pulling out like the 1970 edition of the Parrot Encyclopedia, and even then, there was just a few little tidbits here and there. So,
they're so elusive.
Spooky.
That's why.
So the Dracula Parrot, also known as the Pesquet's Parrot, which isn't as exciting. Unfortunately, it's not, blood sucking or actually scary or like hides in the shadows and attacks other animals. This
still
is
a parrot at its core.
I know. So it's known as the Pesquet's parrot or the vulturine parrot, which will explain why. Citracus vulgatus, that is the genus and species. Citracus, of course, goes down to just parrot. Vulgatus is kind of interesting because it means loosely like gleaming or what did I write here? Or shining or something like that. So it's fitting because these really are cool looking birds.
Yeah.
I mean,
they look so different than any other species. I mean, I can't even think of any species that even look semi-similar. Maybe a black lory a little bit.
Yeah, or like one of the black cockatoos out there, but it's not a cockatoo. But yeah, so it's really unique, and it's the only species in its genus. So, there's some differences there.
This would probably be a good time if you're not driving to hop on Google and Google what they look like, because
yeah, it really is. If you've never seen one, it's awesome to look at.
Yeah, they're
like,
really
oh my God,
cool.
it does look like out of a fantasy. Like pirates have macaws on their shoulders, Dracula would have this bird on their shoulder.
Sure.
So they're a medium-sized bird, about on average 800 grams or so.
Okay.
And they're about, not that everybody needs to know the actual size or length, but about 20 inches. So just give you a rough estimate. So it's not like a little green cheek, or parrotlet. So it's decently sized. But obviously, like what we were talking about, the way it looks is what's most fantastic. It's known as the vulturine parrot, and what kind of gives it that spooky look is because it's a bare head. The face is completely bare, which is very unique amongst parrots. And that kind of comes down to not what vultures do, with their face stuffed in a carcass, all bloody, or that stuff.
Well, just to clarify, because who knows we forget sometimes that we know a lot about birds. So the reason that vultures don't have feathers on their head,
that's true,
is because when they're eating roadkill or bacteria-ridden carcasses, it was advantageous for them to not have the feathers where all that bacteria could get stuck or sit on their face and infect their skin. So that's why they've lost all the feathers on their head, because the ones that had less surface for all that bacteria to get stuck in usually survived longer and reproduced more. So that's why vultures don't have feathers on their head. Which is a very unique feature. It is
very unique and very strange. It's kind of strange how some of these things work, It's obvious when you think about it, but how it actually applies in nature, it's like, man, that's kind of cool. That's crazy. But the Dracula parrot, same principle, but different behavior and diet. So they're frugivores. There's a lot of sources that say, and things go back and forth, of course. Every animal's diet we can't keep track of 24/7, but most research says that they mostly eat just figs. Of course, they could probably branch out. So they're very specialist eater. But figs, like many other fruits, can be very sticky.
Super sugary,
There's no, this is why this is kind of data. But obviously, no feathers on the head can really help with that. Matting, the stickiness, even uncomfort, whatever. Just so that's why we think that these Dracula parrots are barefaced. They have very interesting beaks for parrots too. It's very elongated and narrow, which can really help with that fruit eating, that fig eating. So they're not trying to break nuts, which is why you get those big, huge honkers like on a macaw. Macaw or cockatoo or something like that. So it's a really cool head. But down to the colors is what's the coolest thing is their two colors. One is black. A lot of people say it's named Dracula Parrot because it looks like Dracula's cloak, the garb that you see in some Transylvanian estate. So it's all black, but with bright blood red
feathers underneath.
On the belly and the flank, and then when it flies, it's really cool because it has red stripings over the coverts and the secondaries feathers.
Yep.
Which those are like half. It's hard to describe without showing a picture. So the primaries are the main feathers. Secondaries are the ones that are closer to the body. So there's a nice big red spot, which is really, really cool to see when they fly.
Yeah, I saw also a video yesterday that was like they are slightly dimorphic in that the males will have a little splash of red behind their eye, and the females do not have that. Other than that, they're more or less identical, but the males do have that little extra hint of red right around the eye. Just adds to their spookiness.
I know. So when you see them flying all around at night doing spooky things, if it has a little red dot, you know it's a male, and if not, it's probably a female. But but you will not see them flying around here, obviously, because these species are endemic to New Guinea, and very specific to a place in New Guinea is the mountainous forests.
Yep.
Which is part of why nobody really knows too much about them.
Yeah, they're hard to study.
Yeah, you just can't really get to them.
Yep.
You know, they're up there in the mountains. It takes a lot of money and time for these groups to get all their supplies where they need to just to study this bird. And so that's kind of why I would love it if that Wikipedia page was like the size of a scarlet macaw's or something like that. But, you know, it is what it is. And it kind of adds to the character of these birds.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's really cool. So in the wild, I don't know if I already mentioned this when we were talking about the status of on the IUCN, about 20 to 50,000 individuals estimated. I don't know if I already said that. I think maybe I did. But that's about it in the world. So that's why they're listed. Of course, like many other parrots, they are vulnerable to very similar things that can, you know, hurt their population. Deforestation is a big one. Habitat loss going along with that. And then, like many other parrots, poaching, which is unfortunate. So with that, I mean, it's hard for parrots because parrots kind of usually have very sporadic and small clutches. So they're not rabbits. You know, they're not
breeding multiple times every single summer, producing as many babies as they possibly can. Yes.
But that would make the parrot population so much, you know, better. But it is what it is, and that's how they function. And it's about 2 eggs they lay at a time. They are hollow tree nesters, and they're a pair in a group of about 20 in that huge population.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, the population is difficult to kind of increase when there's so many factors.
Yeah. And, you know, I would guess that's probably why we don't see them in aviculture too much in the U.S. Because like with most species, the ones that produce those really, really small clutches, they're finicky breeders. They have to have all this criteria for them to even like their mate, let alone breed with it, then lay fertile eggs, then hatch them. There's so many things that kind of need to come together so perfectly that I would guess that's why you just don't see them in captivity in the U.S. at any high frequency, because they're probably really, really hard to breed. It's been so long since it's been legal to bring them in from the wild that when you're already starting with a really small population within the U.S. in the 90s,
I know.
Plus, we haven't been able to really breed them at any high volume over the last 20 to 30 years. It just makes it that much more of a rarity to see in captivity. But I would venture to guess that that clutch size and that difficulty with getting them to produce viable babies is a lot of the reason why they're so elusive in captivity in the U.S.
I know. Plus, with that kind of thing, you can compare to other parrot species of that similar size, and what we've experienced, you know, is like some of the bigger cockatoos that are very difficult to get to actually, like you said, actually want to, let alone lay and then have viable. But anyways, so that's about with the Dracula parrot. That's a similar situation on that. But to kind of end it with the Dracula parrot, because that's kind of all that's out there. Like we
have no more information. Yes.
So, but the last spooky thing about them which would be really spooky, especially at night in the wild, is that their calls are described as very haunting, very harsh, spooky screams and growls. Yeah, there's a video out there of, I think I might be a little...
I don't know. We're very new to this, so if this sounds god awful on the podcast,
is everybody?
Oh my god, Dracula!
Because I found one source. It was in a zoo setting, I think, and it was the individual.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you hear that? Yeah, so this is the...
It is a little spooky. That does not sound like the normal squawk or scream of...
Yeah, I know. It's very
other
unique.
Species.
So, yeah, it's very haunting, harsh growl or
Gosh,
scream.
guys, if you have not Googled this species yet, you've got to.
They truly are fantastic. I mean, just looking at them gets you, like, in the Halloween mood.
I needed these photos put up on for inspo while we were talking, because I think we can't underestimate like how dramatic their face and body are. Like they
look
don't
fake.
They do not look like parrots. That's the crazy thing about them. And they do have a kind of, I mean, it's a scary looking face. And I don't like when people say that when parrots, they said parrots look so scary. I always think it's so personal when somebody walks past the palm cage and they're like, he's terrifying. I'm like, he's literally the nicest animal I've ever known. Animal. So this is probably the same thing with the Dracula parrots. They're probably very nice, but my goodness, that is
they're just one of those, like you said, intense, sometimes intimidating, but it is what it is. It's hard to kind of reason why they, besides the head, of course, because of their diet, but it's hard to kind of imagine why that became,
why they evolved to look like this.
And obviously we know that parrots are brightly colored because of the
their vision,
the vision
spectrum
and
of light they can
their
see.
behavior and function and their where they live. But with these guys, it's almost like it does seem a little.
Why did they evolve this
spooky?
Way? Yeah,
a really cool bird. I wish there was a lot more on it because
so this might be becoming you and I's like bucket list species. We're gonna have to start a list of species that we want to see at one point in our lifetime.
Honestly,
there's so many that we have. I mean, I've seen a lot of parrots, but there are still so many that I've never seen in real life. So we'll add this to our bucket list if we ever see one in
it would be really awesome.
Real life.
It really would be
if any of our aviculture friends that listen to this podcast have any connections to one in captivity in the U.S., let us know. Otherwise, we're gonna have to seek one out at a zoo.
Honestly, probably just Googling Dracula parrot at zoo, you'd find one, but it's still they are very rare. Not many people knew they exist when I first got into the parrot world. Even I studied birds, and this was a new species. It's like, oh my god, and like you said earlier, somebody even with some parrot experience would look at this bird and think that it would probably be related to like a vulturine, or something like that. So they're super cool. I really like them.
I love it.
So no, unfortunately, these birds are not like in the heart of Transylvanian culture. They're not scary. They don't suck blood. They don't wear their feathers to look like that. They are just surviving in their environment in a very
foraging for fruit, very passively and innocently.
And they're fig eaters, so they're not like chomping down on big old nuts or anything like that for the macaws. But so happy Halloween, everybody. Have fun.
Stay safe and enjoy your candy and adventures. We'll keep you posted on if Avery and I dress up as pirates for our hook-themed corporate event that we're going to do with November.
So it's a little past Halloween, but we'll let you know after that. Plus, I think this is our first species spotlight episode.
Oh yeah, we haven't done any features.
That's pretty cool. We didn't start with like a green cheek like what we would talk about doing, that everybody recognizes. It's the most
obscure
elusive
one that probably nobody's ever going to have as a pet. But you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
We're here to share info on all the different species, not just the famous and popular ones. So.
But that's cool.
Well, this is a fun episode. It's kind of nice when we do these kind of one-off fun topics. And feel free, our listeners, if you have things that you want us to cover and talk about, let us know. Because we're very open to suggestion. We kind of have a little bit of a game plan of how season 2 is flowing into season 3, but we're very open to suggestions. So if there's certain things you want us to highlight or talk about or investigate further for you, feel free to shoot us an email and we'll happily do what we can to cover all the things that you guys want to hear about.
Nice. Sounds good.
All right. So as always, if you guys are listening to this podcast and are enjoying it, if you can do a quick rate and review of the podcast, it really does help us out. Downloading and sharing the podcast also really, really helps us out. So the more feedback we get on the podcast, the more people get exposed to it. So it's kind of a trickle-down effect. The more that people help us out with those likes and comments and reviews, it really does make a difference. So, and as always, everyone,
be kind to your parrot and it will be kind to you.
All right. Thank you. And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.